Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Plants. So this week we are going to focus on habitats. So we've talked about the parts of the plant, we've talked about the life cycle. So today we're going to talk about where plants live, which is called a habitat. Do you guys remember any habitats from when we did our animal unit? Yell them nice and loud if you do. Ooh, I heard some good ones. I heard ocean. Okay. What else? Desert. Awesome. Any other ones? Grasslands, awesome. Couple more, do you remember? Arctic, grasslands, forest, awesome. Good job. All right, so I heard some awesome ideas. So what we are going to do is we are going to think about the plant habitats, okay? Think about where plants live. What kind of habitat do we live in? Nice and loud. Good, we live in a forest habitat. So what we're going to do today is we are going to be talking about some different types of habitats. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about some different types of our habitats. So the ones we're going to talk about today is desert, rainforest, woodland forest, and Arctic. So can you tell me which of these we might live in? Feel it nice and loud. Good, so we live in a woodland forest habitat, okay? Because we don't live where it's super, super hot and dry. Okay? We don't live where it's super, super wet, right? And we don't live where it's super, super cold. So we live one and that's just right. We live in the woodland forest. Okay, can you think of any types of plants that might live in a desert? Good, a cactus might live in a desert. Awesome idea. Okay, can you think of anything that might live in a rainforest? This one's tricky. I heard some good ideas. So maybe like a certain type of tree may live in the rainforest with vines. Okay, that's a good idea. All right, what about a woodland forest? What kind of trees do we see in a woodland forest? Think about what's in around us. We got a pine tree. And what about in the Arctic? This one's really tricky. Okay, I hear some good ideas, so we're gonna see. Okay, so plants adapt to their environment in order to meet their needs. Okay, so what does adapt mean? Yell it nice and loud. Do you remember what adapt means? Adapt means that the plants are changing to meet their environment. Okay, so change their needs depending on the environment. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the different types of habitats today. Okay, so the first one we're going to talk about is a desert. So a desert is hot and dry. Okay, what else? What else can you tell me about a desert? Yell it nice and loud. Yes, it gets very little rain, so we know it's super dry. Okay, so the plants that live there have to adapt to this harsh environment. So we said a what? A cactus. Good. So a cactus is one example. Cactuses hold all their water inside of it, so that it does, because it doesn't rain a lot in a desert, right? There's no rain. So it has to get its water somehow, because that's a basic need of a plant. Good. So here are some examples of desert plants. So we said our cactus, okay, but there's a couple different types. This is the type we usually think of, right? It's smooth, okay, it has little spines, and it grows flowers only in May and June, and it doesn't have leaves, okay, but it adapts by storing water in the stem. So it stores water in here and makes food for the rest of the plant using that water. This is one that we really think about. But another one we think about also is one that has the spikes on it. Okay, this can reach 11 feet high and it's dangerously sharp. So isn't that cool? And then there's another one. It's called an oak tilo. Its spiny stems, okay, can grow 30 feet tall, okay? And it grows several times depending on how many times it rains. Okay, so it's adapted to the desert by it sheds its leaves during its dry spells, okay? Because it gets very, very dry in a desert. So when we're thinking about a desert, we're thinking about these types of plants, okay? They don't need a lot of water and they adapt because there's not a lot of water, okay? All right, and a rainforest. Can you guys tell me about a rainforest? Yell it nice and loud. Tell me about a rainforest. I hear some awesome ideas. So a rainforest is warm and it's very wet, okay? And it rains a lot. Okay, so it's very humid. Humid means there's a lot of water in the air. Okay, it's very hot. Okay, so the plants that live there need a lot of water and warmth. Okay, so that's these plants. Could they survive here? No, because we don't have a lot of water. We don't have a lot of warmth. Okay, we are very in between. We are temperate, which means we are in between cold and hot. So let's see what types of plants. Ooh, you guys know this one. A bamboo. So bamboo grows to be 40 to 80 feet tall. So bamboo is actually a type of grass. Okay, so that grows super tall and super fast, and it gets a lot of sunlight and rain, and it grows. Okay, so that's a really, we know that. Okay, we've seen bamboo before. This is called jambu. It's a small tree. Okay, it only grows about 20 feet high, which is still huge, guys. It's bigger than us. Okay, that's 4 Miss Bees stacked up on top of each other. Okay, so it's super sweet and delicious, and it's a watery fruit. Okay, it's a sweet watery fruit that you get from this tree. Okay, and it grows close to the ground, so it's not too high like when you think of the rainforest trees like this one. So a kapuk tree is a majestic tree. It grows to 150 feet tall. Okay, it's got spines that stick out on for protection, and the tree reaches the very top of the rainforest. There's plenty of sunlight. Okay, so think about some animals that might live in that tree. What type of animals might live in that tree? Birds, monkeys. Great job. Those are some really good ideas. Let's see what the next one is. Ooh, woodland forest. Okay, so think about a woodland forest. What do you think about? Good, you think about where we live and the leaves changing. Good. So this area covers a large area with plants, trees, and animals that live. The summers are hot and dry, and the winters are cold and rainy. Sounds about right, right? That's exactly what type of place we live in. So there are many different types of plants that grow here. So a pecan tree can grow in a woodland forest. Okay, this is the state of Texas. It can grow pecans, so it grows in trees like some water and some sunlight, but not a lot. But they can be enormous. They're 180 feet tall. So those are found in Texas. This tree grows straight and tall and can reach 100 feet. It's called the shagbark hickory. Okay, it can grow in wet or dry areas. So it adapts to its environment by growing its roots straight down, allowing it to get extra water if there is a drought. So in the summertime when it doesn't rain a lot, this tree adapts to find a way to get its water. And then this is the Gilder rose. Okay, it can only be about 5 to 10 feet. Okay, it's a shrub. Okay, so it's not a tree, it's just a plant. The flowers provide plenty of pollen for the insects. Okay, so it's giving back. The flower later returns in bright red berries, which attracts birds to eat the berries. Okay, and then it spreads its seeds. Okay, so that's how it spreads, it pollinates. The leaves turn red or purple before falling off. Okay, so the shrub adapted to its environment by being able to spread out on the grass to get more sunlight. Okay, so these are really important things to think about on how these different plants are adapting. So they may be spreading out farther so they can get more of their sunlight. Or maybe if they need to get more water, they use their roots to make them bigger. Okay, so all the plants adapt depending on where they live. Okay, and then the Arctic. So the Arctic's very cold and windy. Okay, so think about the Arctic. There's a lot of what? Yell it nice and loud. What is there a lot of in Arctic? Snow and ice. Good job. So it has long winters and short summers, and the ground is always frozen, so there's no trees. Okay, but there's some low-growing plants that grow there during the summer. They have adapted to that icy, cold place. Because would a pine tree be able to live in the Arctic? No, you're right. So let's see. So caribou moss. So moss is super small. It's only about 1 to 4 inches. So it's like this big. That's as big as it's gonna get. Okay, it grows on rocks. Okay, and it grows on the ground and it's spongy and foamy. So it's a different texture. It doesn't have leaves. It's not a plant, it's a moss. Okay, it's adapted by being able to live without light or water for long periods of time. So they call it caribou moss because caribous and reindeer eat it. Okay, that's how they eat their plant so that they can survive. So the pasque flower It likes cold water or weather, okay? It's adapted by growing close to the ground and being covered in silky hairs that keeps the heat inside of it. So you can see it's not very big, and you can see if you look closely, the little spiky hairs on it. So it means it's like super soft. So it has that so that it can live outside. Okay, remember it's super cold there. And then this is called Arctic moss. Okay, it grows in lakes, so it grows in the water. Okay, and it grows super slowly. It can last to 9 years, which is a long time. Okay, it's one of the few plants that actually live in the Arctic. It's adapted to grow close to the ground underwater. Okay, so it grows inside the water, so it's like seaweed type of stuff. Okay, so we've learned some different types of plants. Okay, so what you're going to do now is you're going to answer these questions the best that you can. So what we're going to do is we are going to grab your notebook, pause the video, grab your notebook, okay, and we are going to write what it means to adapt and what ways the plants can adapt, okay? So we're gonna pull out our notebook, open up a new page. You're gonna put your name right at the top. We haven't used it in a while. You put the date. So it's 5.4.20. And this is reading day 13. So you're gonna write right here, what is one way, or what does adapt mean? So remind me, yell it nice and loud. What does adapt mean? All right, so adapt means that the plant changes to survive. Awesome. That's a great idea. I love it. Go ahead and pause it if you need to catch up. Okay, you need to write that. Go ahead and pause. I'll give you a second. So now we're going to write some different ways. We're just going to bullet point. You don't need to write the complete sentence, just bullet point. What's one way that a plant adapted? So growing close to the ground. Growing close to the ground. What else? Longer roots to get water. How else does it adapt? It stores water. Good. Okay, and keep creating a list. Okay. If you already have those written down, go to pause if you want to write them down. What you're going to do to finish is you're going to draw your habitat that you live in, that plants grow. So draw your habitat that plants grow in around you. Okay, so do you live in, so those options would be Arctic. Do you live in an Arctic setting? Woodland Forest. Do you live in the Woodland Forest area? Do you live in the desert? Do you live in a rainforest? Okay, so you're going to draw a picture. Okay, so which one do we live in? Good job. So we live in a woodland forest. So this is the one we're going to draw a picture of. So I would draw some trees. Maybe I want to draw at some different times. So you're going to sit and draw your picture. You guys are doing a fantastic job. That's what you're going to finish doing today. Okay, tomorrow we will continue to talk about plant habitats. Keep up all that fantastic work.